Aloha from Hawaii. Just kidding. We're still in Toronto at Vente Pain Relief Clinic. This is Alfie again. As you can see, my buddy here, Skelly's got his necktie on. He's looking all professional. Today we're taking a bit of a left turn here. We are, instead of the usual clinical tip and trick in regards to clinical treatments or anything that we see clinically, we're going into more sort of the business side of things, more of the practice development side of things. Today we're going to talk about how do you know you're ready to start up on your own. So this pertains mostly to clinicians such as massage therapists, chiropractors, physios maybe, but it can pertain to other people too. So there's certainly certain things that I'm going to talk about that may not really relate with you, but it might be helpful. So this is a short list of some of the things to help you along the way in terms of determine whether you're prepared or not. So you've been contemplating starting your own thing, your own business. You're basically working at maybe a spa, maybe another clinic, maybe you're working different jobs, and you feel that it might be time to move on and start your own. But how do you know? How do you know? It's a very general question in that there are so many different factors. Everybody's got their own thing going on in life. There's a lot of issues that people go through that may be a stumbling block for them to move forward. But these are some of the things that I think might help you in terms of deciding whether you want to move forward or not. But before we start, next week we're going to do another practice building business kind of thing, and we're going to talk about choosing your startup location. In other words, where you're going to have your clinic or your spa or whatever it might be, finding that right spot just for you. So to give you a background, I'm just going to have a seat here for a second. To give you a background in terms of where I'm coming from, I've been in the business, I've been a massage therapist for 18 plus years, going on 19 come October. I've been in this location here at First Canadian Place. This is the, you might know this building if you've ever seen a postcard of Toronto where you see the CN Tower and then there's the Bank of Montreal BMO building. That's where we're located. And my wife and I have been here for 4 years in our own clinic. I have learned a lot in terms of opening, in terms of planning, in terms of practice development. I've had my own share of failures. In fact, I'd say about 15, 16 years ago, we opened our first version of Vente Pain Relief Clinic in an area called the Beaches in Toronto. And that did not last longer than 6 months. Basically, it went under like in 6 months because of a number of things I did, including misplanning and not doing enough research. In fact, one of the big issues I had was that I didn't check to see how many massage therapists were in the area. Basically, it was about 20 of them. So anyways, we're going to talk right now about how do you know you're ready to start up on your own. So what are some of the clues? Number one, are you happy with your current situation? Can you see yourself there happy in the next 5 to 10 years? Now that's a general statement for anyone that wants to start up as an entrepreneur, start their own business. Can you actually visually see yourself in your head working in that office for the next 10, 15, 20 years? If the answer is no, then that's your first step to asking yourself more questions in regards to going forward. You might be happy, who knows? You might be happy in that location. And again, moving forward as an entrepreneur, as a startup is not for everyone. But if this is something that's hanging over your head, this might be something to really look deeply into. Do you feel you can provide a better service than the location you are currently at? So you see things happening at the business you're at the clinic, at the spa, wherever you might be, and you say to yourself, man, I'd do it this way instead. I don't know why the management does it this way, why the business does it this way. It's better if we do it this way. If you feel that you can do something better, improve on something, that's another clue. Number three, do you have a steady roster of patients and clients? Now, one of the big mistakes that I made was that I started up too early way back when. My mother had told me, in fact, my mom told me that, like, I wasn't ready for it. I should be in the business for a couple of years, maybe learn a bit more, build up a steady roster of clients, patients. I didn't listen. I just went ahead and did. I opened up the first version of Vente Pain Relief Clinic, and of course, that didn't go too well. So my piece of advice is that I suggest like actually working a few years in the business, get your foot dipped in the water, so to speak, and then build your client roster from there. An important one is, what is your retention rate? In other words, what is the percentage by which you retain your patients' clients? And the way I define retention rates is basically, do they come in for 2 or more appointments? So you have one person coming in, they do 1 treatment, do they come in for a second time? That's how I define whether you've retained them or not. Now obviously, like they might come in for 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it might be, but 2 is the minimum in terms of retaining patients. And this is very important because this will help you in terms of determining your projections. So if you know what your retention rates are, so for example, say you get 10 new patients or 10 new clients in 1 month, and you have 3 of them coming back for 2 or more, that's a 30% retention rate. That's how I see it. So if you have an idea like how many people you actually come back for a second treatment or more, that'll give you an idea in terms of plugging in the numbers for your projections, ultimately. Along with the retention rates, what is the frequency of current retained patients? What is their frequency? In other words, this goes along with retention rate. Do these retained patients come in once a week, once a month, only in emergencies, etc., so on and so forth? So again, that goes in line with your projections. I'm very big on projections. Like there's never a guarantee with projecting your finances and stuff like that, but you want to have the best possible plan in place, or at least get a good idea in terms of like what could potentially be happening over the next few months or so in terms of your revenue. On average, how many patients do you gain monthly? So ask yourself that. Like, have you checked to see what on average you get? Do you get 3? Do you get 5? Do you get 10? And along with that, again, you can plug in your retention rate so you can project for the next few months. So if you, say for example, get 10 and you retain 3, 30%, you can build your client roster. You can maybe like it goes up by 3 every month or so. So you can project like your revenues with that. How many patients, realistically, or clients, I call them patients because in my eyes they are patients. They're here suffering from a medical issue. So how many patients realistically do you think will follow you? Now I know that you want to be enthusiastic. You want to say, oh, all of them are going to follow you. All of them are going to follow me. I'm such a wonderful therapist. But realistically, you want to make sure that you're as cautious as possible when you're doing these projections in terms of how many patients will follow you. So for example, I was very ultra conservative when I did my projections. When I wrote down on my business plan how many people would follow me, I put down about 40% of the roster that I had at the previous clinic that I worked at. The funny thing is, I was so cautious that it ended up being, over time, about 90% actually followed me. So it's funny because I was, I overheard different fellow staff members are saying, oh, they're going to follow you, all of them will follow you. But I never took that to heart. I was always on the cautious side of things. So if you project, say, 60% will follow you of your current roster of patients, I would knock that down by another 20% just to be even more cautious. It's better to be cautious than being too overly enthusiastic. You want to be enthusiastic about your business, but also be ultra realistic in terms of the potential for people following you. Do you have a business plan in place? Now this is a very important one. I don't believe that you can just sort of wing it. I think that you need to have something down on paper. In fact, I've done like so many business plans over my time I've probably done about 13, 14, 15, and they're always changing. It's not static. It's something that you have on paper to keep you moving forward and to keep you on your plan. But remember, you can always adjust accordingly in the future, but it's better to have a plan in place. So let me give you an example. When we first opened up our first version of Vente Pain Relief Clinic down by the beaches in Toronto, I had no business plan. I basically picked the first location, which is really screwed up when you think about it. I picked the first location that I thought was wonderful. Had no business plan, decided that I was just going to open up the place, put a shingle up, and basically all these patients, all these clients who come in, or patients that I had before, would follow me. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I didn't do enough research, I didn't plan well, and when you don't plan well, get ready to fail. That's basically what happened. So my advice is that that's one of the most important things you could do, is do a business plan. If you got some sort of software, if you got an app, if you got even a book that can help you in terms of planning the business. And we are going to talk about business planning in the future, but that's your singular most important document in terms of starting up on your own. So do you require financing? That's another one. Right? Like, do you, in your projections, do you think you'll require an extra 10,000, 20,000, whatever the cost might be? Be sure, again, to be more, you might want to be more on the higher side, just in case. In my opinion, you want to keep your business afloat for at least 1 year. So you're probably not going to make much of a profit in the first year, if not at all. But be sure to know that if you can keep it steady for about a year and you can hold off, you've basically jumped over the first barrier, the first year barrier, which is important because it'll give you more confidence in terms of how your business is doing. Do you need to have a lawyer to look at your current contract obligations? This too is very important, and this should never ever be discounted. Because sometimes we make assumptions. We read the contract, we think we know what it actually means, but you need to have somebody that you can hire that speaks legalese, because there might be certain things in there in the contract that you've overlooked that a lawyer can see, and you don't want any future problems. You don't want any problems where the previous employer comes after you. I know of basically a couple of stories where this became problematic for somebody who had left their current work place and started up on their own. Very important. Okay, so the last two on my list are more dealing with the mental, emotional side of things. Let's not fool ourselves in terms of opening up our own businesses. It's fantastic. I love it. I love the fact that I can control my own destiny. But there are another set of stressors that you will encounter. Potentially different from your current workplace. As a business owner, there's other things that you have to concern yourself with. So number one, there's actually two that I've listed here. Do you have a good support system? Is your family on board? It's very, if you want to do this on your own, sure, why not? But I find that it gives you more confidence. You have people backing you that love you, that care about you. The other thing too is I recommend that hopefully you have a mentor, like a mentor in the industry that you can pick their brain freely and help you along the way. Because the worst thing is you're going on your own and you have nobody to actually ask different questions, certain questions about the business side of things. So that's another important aspect of it, the support system. And finally, number two, I just want to be real here. So, we have these dreams of succeeding, becoming this wonderful clinic or a spa where people come in and they enjoy themselves. The money's great, so on and so forth. But to be real here, there's a chance of you succeeding if you plan well, but that does not guarantee that you will succeed. So the other thing on the flip side of this is that there is a chance for you to fail. Now you probably heard motivational speakers telling you that you're wonderful, you're going to do well, blah, blah, this and that. I could tell you that, but that's not the whole story, right? There is a chance that you may fail. Now, the reason why I am saying this is so that you are prepared mentally and emotionally that there is that percentage that you may not do as well as you expected. I'm saying this because once you are ready to accept that as a reality, because it's a reality, you are ready to go. I believe that if you're too enthusiastic and not looking at it from the other side of things, looking at it from the potential, direction where it doesn't go your expectation, I think you're fooling yourself. But once you're willing and ready to accept this fact of life, I think you're ready to go. So that's my list, basically. It's a short list, and in upcoming videos we will be talking more practice building stuff such as retention, marketing, a whole bunch of different things which I think will be helpful for you in terms of building your practice. So next week we are going to talk about choosing your location for your startups. Some important questions you want to ask yourself, different factors that you want to look at in regards to picking the right location for what you are planning to do in terms of service. So every Tuesday, stay tuned. Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern for these premieres, these video premieres. Also keep an eye on future course announcements. If you've got questions, feel free to message me, or you can email me at admin@ventepainrelief.ca. This is Alfie again at Vente Pain Relief Clinic with my buddy Skelly, all professional here. And again, aloha from Hawaii. No, I'm just kidding. We'll see you next week. Have yourself a great day and take care.